Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'm really excited because we're about to start reassembling the bottom end for my RB25 for my stager. Aaron's here already. We're just getting the bits and pieces out of his car. Let's go check it out.
Yes, you can do the backwards walking.
Alright, so we've just unloaded everything out of Aaron's car. So now back at my house, we have my RB25 block, and then we have my RB26 rods. So they've all been machined out to the right size to have the proper clearance on my new crank. And they have the ARP rod bolts in there already. So we've got to take those apart, obviously, before we put them in. Which is going to be fun, because these are still torqued to spec.
Yeah, I forgot to undo them before I left.
And we have my forged pistons. So these are the pistons that were in this engine before. Aaron has had a good look at them, cleaned them up, and basically given them the okay to use again. So there's no like real bad marking or anything like that. They all measured up the same and to spec still, so that's pretty cool. And what about bearings? Where are the bearings?
In the box behind you.
Oh, there's another box. Oh, there's another box here. Cool.
And your rings.
Oh,
Your fasteners.
Aaron bought me a ring. Aaron bought me like actually like 18 rings. So then in here we've got new piston rings, we've got new bearings, and up on the shelf here I've got new seals. So crank seals front and back, got a few gaskets, new head gasket courtesy of Aaron, thank you very much. Bits and pieces to put together, thermostat. I've got a new oil pump to go in, that's a second-hand oil pump, and I've got a set of spool billet gears to go into that, so we'll have a closer look at that at the right time. And I've got a new water pump up here as well, because this one when we pulled it off, yeah, it just looked a bit gungy, so we thought we should just replace it while it's all apart anyway. Probably would have been fine, but yeah, it's one of those things, while it's apart, may as well fix it up. Also picked up a head drain, so I'll slap that onto the head at some point as well. So yeah, now it's just a matter of putting all that stuff and that stuff into there, and yeah, that's it.
You just got to put all the round things into the round holes where they belong. I'm just going to clean any residual oil off all of these bearings. I'm going to start putting them in their new forever home.
So we've had these bearings out of the packs before. We've had them in so that we could measure clearances and check and then machine things correctly. Right?
Yes.
Nailing it. See, I'm getting better at this. This is good. So now, because obviously there's been, like, they've come in contact with surfaces, now we've just got to make sure all of that stuff is removed before we put it all together.
You missed it. It's really quick.
Oh, so when you glue on it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you go from like being dull to like a nice matte colour.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh!
It's like the most satisfying thing about building engines with ACL bearings is just cleaning the bearings.
Alright, so now that these bearings are ready to go, we're going to grab the rods out and we're going to start putting the bearings into the rods in preparation for mating.
And then we're going to just put them aside and get the next set of bearings out for the mains and do the same thing.
Alright, so I've said previously that I'm now putting a set of RB26 rods into this RB25. People have sort of been wondering, and I've had a few people ask me, what is the benefit? What's the difference between them? And now actually having them next to each other, you can very easily see the difference. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but... So this is my original RB25 rod, and so the biggest difference between the two is this section here on both sides. So on this RB25 rod, it really comes in quite narrow and then goes straight there. On the RB26 rod, there's more meat. It's a more gradual curve that comes from here to about this point. So overall from the outside, they measure the same. The center to center distance is still the same. The only difference is these RB26 rods are thicker in this center section. What would you call this area?
Yeah, it's just
there is a name
the
for it.
beam profile is just a bit wider, spreads the load better to the bearing. Yeah, the clearance is on the tightest side of the spec.
So it's on the wrong side. So I don't know if you can see the difference here now that the RB25 and RB26 rods are lined up next to each other. I might flip it over that way. Oh yeah, actually you can see the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this area here and here, you can see this bit here sticks out just that little bit more, and that's on both sides as well. And so the maybe the obvious benefit about having the thicker section here is that these rods are better at handling compressive load, such as from boost pressure. So the theory would suggest that these rods could handle a little bit more boost than the RB25 rods.
So in the theory, yes, they're only a little bit better, but people have proven many times that the RB26 rod is a pretty good rod. They handle a fair bit of abuse.
So there we go. We're going to slap these in, and we'll see how we go. So on the back of these bearings, there's this little tang, and so we want to push that into the little groove. Does that have a name? The little groove on the rod and on the cap?
It's also a tang.
Tang. So the tang goes into the tang. Look, for all the different names of all these different parts, I'm surprised they didn't call that like an outer tang and an inner tang or something.
You probably find somebody has a specific name, which is its first original name somewhere or whatever, but I don't know. We call everything a bearing tang if it's the little locating tab or the groove for it.
So the tang goes in the tang, got it. Hey, there we go. It's not too bad. Oh yeah, that actually goes in quite easily. Did I put the hole in the right place?
Doesn't matter on the cap side.
Oh, nice. But I did.
You cannot put the bearing in wrong.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It can't be wrong. So I got it right. So on both the rod and the cap, where the bearing tangs sit in the other tang, we've got to line them up when we put them together. So this side and this side. So obviously these two sides go together. Like that. Alright, so now that's all 6 of my new RB26 rods, or new to me RB26 rods, with their big end bearings now in place. So now that's done, we're going to go ahead and put the pistons onto the rods. Alright, so these pistons are the CP forged pistons that were already in my engine when I bought the car. So like I said before, Aaron's had a good look at these, he's measured everything up, and everything's come up okay. They're basically as they would have been in the box when they were new, right?
Yeah.
Cool, so that's a bonus.
They haven't done a lot of work.
Which is sad to hear, but also good for me in this instance. So CP, I don't know if we can see that in there. So yeah, pretty happy I didn't have to buy new pistons.
So oil all the surfaces, put the pin together. We've got to triple check that we have the piston and the rod in the correct orientation for the front of the engine. So they are direction specific. So they have squirter clearance for the block squirter, and they also have a ball squirter on the rod, which has to go on the major thrust side. So I've already assembled this one. I just got to put the clip in, but first we're going to triple check everything, make sure it is the correct orientation. Although I just checked it, do it again. So this is going to be the front. It's going to be on the major thrust side. Oil squirter is also on the major thrust side, so that's the hole where it bolts on.
Alright. Alright, so you took the oil squirters off?
Yeah, so I can clean the oil gallery better.
Cool.
And they would have been in the way for us flex hunting the balls.
Right, yeah.
The trickiest part is putting this little clip in. Very stiff, small wire clip that Corello and Corello CP use.
Yeah, that's super stiff.
Well, you don't want it falling out while it's running, do you?
No.
So the oil squirters and the bamboo bolts for them.
I don't know why, but every time I see one, I'm always like, it's
But that
so
simple
tiny.
little thing is like a couple $100 for a set for one of these.
Holy right.
Yeah. So you don't want to break them or lose them.
Nope, we're just putting that back in the bag and walking away. So in this bottle, we just have a little bit of oil, basically used just to assemble it so that there is some coating of lubrication on first startup. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a drop on the pin bore. Yep. Should we go buy a screwdriver? He's determined now.
I've never had this much trouble freaking.
Don't say it. So I'm just going to put a couple of drops of oil on the pin bore at the little end on the rod, and then the same thing on the pin bore of the piston. So where the pin goes through in this area, we'll put a couple of drops here and just rub it around with my finger. So that'll mean all of those surfaces are nicely lubricated for that first startup.
So, if you've got it upside down, you want both of the squirter and the squirter relief this side.
So that way?
Yeah, so that'll be the front.
And squirter that way.
Yep.
And so there we go. RB26 rod. And CP forged piston. And I'm going to hand that over to Aaron to make sure we get the clips on. Because I'm not even going to attempt what he's doing.
It just took me 10 minutes to get this one on.
10 minutes?
Over-exaggerating, but...
I was going to say it's been longer than that. Oh, hang on. I'll give that clip a go. So, is there a clip on one side?
Yeah, there's already a clip on one side.
Right. And so what do you... Done. I'm out of ideas. Did you get the other one?
Yeah, I've got one in.
Okay. I thought you should be wearing glasses.
Yeah, safety glasses is usually recommended when you're doing this. Because these things shoot off at extraordinary speed if you accidentally do it.
Can you just triple check that I've orientated the squirter in the right place?
Yes.
Okay, good. Didn't look like much of a triple check, come on. Oh. Alright, boys. Tear it down again.
Whenever you fit them, you want to make sure you have nice free movement. Side float. He's having trouble getting it in the hole.
Tell me when you're watching, Aaron. Bit of a throwback to the last video, or one of the other videos. Couldn't get it in while I was watching you.
When I was putting the grub screw in the crankshaft.
That's what it was, yeah.
Can't get it in while you're watching, Ravi.
Am I making you nervous? This pin feels very tight.
Yeah, there's only 4 to 5 tenths clearance on the rod bushing, which is bottom spec, which is good, so you've got plenty of room for it to break in and wear. Now I've figured out which way these clips want to go in. It should be a lot quicker.
Easy. Alright, I'm going to have a go this time. Alright, I feel like I've learnt enough from Aaron about this process. I'm going to have a go at doing this whole piston and rod setup myself.
Good luck.
I'm not scared at all.
If he loses a clip, we'll just have to end it here and come back another day.
And cry. And just cry for days. I assume they're easy to find.
Yeah,
like, not on the floor, but I mean, like, we can get more.
Yeah, we can just buy the clips if we do lose one. I might even have some at work.
Yeah, cool. Alright, so first things first, moving up the little end. Again, too much oil. Too much oil. So oil squirter relief on this side, oil squirter on the rod on this side. So I'm trying not to force them. It's trying to sort of try to just jiggle it a little bit.
Yeah. That's exactly it. I'll just hold that one. You just press on this edge here and then work it around. Keep going. There you go.
Hey!
Nice.
Sick!
See what I mean about it being difficult?
Yeah, Jesus. Oh no, it's on the wrong way. Psych.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that was right. Here we are, assembling an engine. Something you thought you probably would never do.
No, that's true. That's definitely true. Alright, so that's all of the rods and pistons done, sitting in this box. What's next, Aaron?
We're going to do the main bearings and then start getting ready to put the crank in. So we're going to do the same thing for the main bearings now.
Alright, so Aaron's now cleaning all of the bearings with some wax and grease remover again. And I just wanted to have a quick chat about these thrust bearings. So this is what failed on my engine in the first place. And that's the whole reason that I've had to rebuild it and go through this whole process.
Yeah, so when I mounted the bearings and checked everything, I made sure to check the thrust clearance and it had nearly none.
That's on these new ones?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I've had to grind the thrust washer that is integral to the main bearing back. I've got a shim grinder at work that we use for this. And I've given it 4 thousandths clearance.
So do you take it evenly from both sides when you do that?
No, we actually take it all off the front. in conventional vehicle or even in automatics, the rear thrust face is the one doing all the work.
Right. Oh, so you want more material left on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In your case, it was the front thrust face doing too much work.
Yeah.
And that's why it failed.
So that's really good to know now with this build, knowing categorically what the clearance is on the thrust bearings. And so just as a quick recap, what had happened previously was we think, or for some reason, my crank was being pulled back to the back of the motor. It could have either been my clutch was set up wrong, or the shop who rebuilt the engine before I bought it, you know, maybe they didn't set the thrust clearance properly in the first place. We don't actually know. You know, it may have been set up doomed from the time it was being rebuilt anyway. So at this point, and probably forever, we will never know. But it is really good knowing that this is all set properly with the right clearance. So if anything does happen in future, we know it's not going to be related to this specifically that caused it. All right, so that's all of the main bearings now in the block side. We've also gone ahead and put the corresponding main bearings into the girdle. So both sides of that are now ready to go. I think, what are we doing next?
Oil squirters.
Oil squirters. So we're going to reinstall the oil squirters into the block, and then after that, it's time for the crank.
As you can probably see, it'd be quite a pain in the butt if you forgot to put these in.
Alright, so that's all the oil squirters in. Now it's a matter of torquing them up.
Yes. So these ones don't go up very tight. They're a hollow bolt to let oil pass through them. But you want to make sure they're torqued so they don't fall out. If one of those falls out, you're going to lose oil pressure. And it's going to equal the same bad time we've just had, deleting a crankshaft and bearings.
Deleting. So what sort of torque do they have to be done up to?
So these ones we're just doing up to 35 Newton meters for your metric loving mind.
Yeah.
So it's about 20 foot-pound.
Yeah, right.
And then we just go back over all of them after we've torqued them up. And now we find a paint pen and mark them. We've torqued them, we want to mark that they're torqued. So we forget ourselves later, we know we've marked them after we torqued them.
Sorry, that whole time I felt like I was holding a beer.
Drink it, you won't.
Alright, take 47, Aaron torquing oil squirters so that we know they are done because we can't find a proper paint pen.
Triple check.
Yep.
It's the third time over them.
I'll do it. Alright, so that's all of the oil squirters torqued up by both Aaron and myself because we are both paranoid. So they are done. They are torqued. We good?
Yep.
We good. Alright.
So that's the Sharpie right there. He's hiding in plain sight right behind us.
Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and mark the squirters so that we know that they've been torqued anyway.
It's not to see if they turn, I'm just marking them so I know I've torqued them.
Right, so to recap, we have pistons and rods ready. We have all the bearings in place for where they need to be. We've reinstalled the oil squirters. And now, what we're about to do, which is what I've been looking forward to the most, is finally putting the new crank in place in its forever home.
Hopefully it can spin there for quite a few years.
Hopefully. So Aaron's just opening this little bottle of assembly lube that I bought, and I'm also very excited about because it makes me feel like a professional. I now have assembly lube in my home. So we're going to go ahead and lube up all of these bearings and then get the crank in place. Yeah, it's thick and sticky.
Yeah. Which is obviously what it's designed to be, because you want it to stay in there. Spread it across the whole bearing surface.
Yeah.
Don't worry if you do drip a little bit off the side down the balls, because we want to give them a quick wipe out before we put pistons in anyway. All over that thrust face as well.
Oh yeah. Don't forget the thrust face.
The bane of this engine. Here's one we prepared earlier.
Cool, alright. So when do we turn the key?
Probably in a couple of months when it's over there.
That is a realistic time frame.
This needs to go this way. I just put them all in place.
Right.
Pretty well it's counting to make sure I have all of the fasteners before I even start doing anything up.
Do one at a time.
Yeah, so there is a pattern that you follow when you're talking this kind of thing up. And then it goes in the back.
The back and the middle as well?
There's one here.
Yeah.
Ironically, they put the longer bolt in the middle, right where it needs clearance for the drive shaft. Like, good job, Nissan.
So there we go, crank is in place, girdle is in place on top of it, and now we're going to go ahead and oil up the...
We're good! Let's try that again now, I've ruined it.
So now we're going to go ahead and move up the main bolts and torque them down so that the girdle is holding the crank and everything's nicely supported as it should be.
You're going to love the next bit then. Bring it down. So you see how if I pull that crank all the way back with the screwdriver and then I move it forward, I want to still be able to do that after I put the cradle on.
Right.
I'm going to try and get this thrust washer lined up.
Oh, so do you mean the girdle was like offset one way or the other?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not allowing the crank to float.
I getcha.
Which can cause the exact same issue we've just had.
Right, okay.
Ideally I want to push the crank forward into the thrust so it lines the rear thrusts up. Didn't really think that out when we started this. Easy way is if we can hit straight on the end of the crank.
And literally punch it forwards.
Yeah. But we're currently on an engine stand, which is in the way of me doing that.
So, okay, really dumb question. Why don't we take the girdle off? Pull the crank forwards? I don't get it. Oh,
the girdle's what we're trying to move.
It's going to sit against.
Yeah.
Oh.
The girdle's what we're trying to get to move, to line up.
Yeah, okay.
Well, actually. Yeah, I put the piece of wood through the hole onto the back of the crank. Excellent. That worked exactly as intended. We have end float, the correct amount of end float, not the 3mm end float you had last time. Now that that's aligned, we can oil these bolts and do them up. So, do it over the hole. So you want to cover the whole thread so it's not dry. You also want some under the head of the bolt.
Just like that?
Yeah. Like,
do I have to go all the way around or not really?
no, it'll spread itself out. You oil and I'll wind them down.
Yep. Definitely not as precise at this as you are.
Yeah, well I only do it almost every day.
That's so cool. Like, you obviously enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I've probably assembled more RB engines than what people are going to live on average years. So we've got a tension of 50 Newton meters.
Starting in the center?
We're going to go center, 3, 5, 2, 6, 1, 7.
It's like a third of a rotation.
And that's a light tension.
And then 5.
Yeah, it gets harder at the end where you don't have leverage.
There's nothing to hold against.
And then this one will feel a lot easier than the other end.
Because it's right at the other end of the thing, yeah.
Alright, now we do it again.
Do it again, yeah.
So when I recheck them, I normally start at one end and go back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's
already
torqued.
torqued.
Okay.
I just start at one end so I can go
So
the
you
whole way
know,
back.
once you're here, you know you've done those. You don't have
Yep.
to try to remember. Yeah. Okay. So these have now all been torqued to 50 newton meters, and now we're going to go ahead and recheck them again. And so do we check our end float again?
Yes.
I feel like, 50 doesn't feel like a lot.
It's not really.
But I suppose it's not actually
That
supporting.
is the manufacturer's spec.
Are they factory Nissan?
Yeah.
Is that something I should have replaced?
They're not angle torque, so they're not torqued to yield bolts,
okay.
so you
can
can
use them again.
reuse them.
Yeah.
Like in an ideal world, you would have just replaced all of them every time,
Yeah.
but everybody's going to buy 4 sets of main bolts to go through the reconditioning process and use a new set of bolts every time they torque it up.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, because, when you check your clearances, you've torqued them.
Yep. If you have to do any align honing or anything on the main tunnels, you got to torque it up. If you look here, you won't be able to see it on the camera, but you can see it
Oh, yeah.
with your eye.
Yep.
It moves.
Cool.
Right, we have end float. We have a torqued main tunnel. It turns
It
nicely.
moves. Oh, let me feel this. Oh,
Super smooth, as you want.
that's awesome.
Now, when you're building an engine, you should never turn it until you have the main tunnel completely torqued.
Oh, right. Okay, this is fine.
Yes.
Okay.
So if it's not torqued, the main tunnel won't be in the correct shape,
Yeah.
and you can accidentally damage your bearings a little bit, but it's not necessarily likely to happen, but can happen.
Cool, look at that. Alright, so that's the crank now in place. The girdle's bolted down and all torqued up to spec. The crank's spinning nicely. There's no binding. There's nothing that feels bad. Even Aaron, who's built a number of RBs, seems to think this is the best spinning crank in an RB he's ever seen. Isn't that right, Aaron?
Might be an over-exaggeration. It is very nice.
That's exactly what he said just off camera. What are we doing? Flipping over.
Yeah, we need the other side now.
That way, right. Rings.
If you like it, then sure to put a ring on it.
So now we flip the engine over, we're going to start putting pistons and rods in, as well as some rings. I don't know what this is,
Rings are first.
but also this hand thing. Alright, so we flipped the motor over, and now we're going to put some rings on the first piston, and then put that into the first cylinder, and then go from there.
So we got our gap there, so we're going to put the gap on one of the support rails over here, and then the gap on the other support rail. We're going to put over this side of the gap.
Oh, so it sits in the middle.
It's
Like
just-
there's a support rail on each side of that ring, basically.
Yes, keeps it where it needs to be so it can do its job. So rail gap there, other ring there. Sweet.
So
Leave
why
that there.
are you picking those positions for the gaps?
Some ring manufacturers will give you a specific orientation to put everything. But if you think about it, you've got a gap here and a gap there. If they're lined up with each other, you're going to have oil that can pass this way easily.
So basically just don't overlap the gaps.
Yeah. You want to keep them away from the join so that that join can't fall into there, causing the ring to bind up or protrude out where you don't want. Then we get our second ring, which has a direction that it has to go on. They got a marking on them that has to be the top side, because Ravi has a nice photo of these. They have the little hook on the bottom of these ones to scrape the excess oil back down the bore. There are ring pliers you can use for these, but there's not a whole lot of tension on these small rings, so you can just fit them by hand. Second ring on. Now, same thing for the first ring. First ring has the same thing, it's got a top marker. These rings are the same shape on the face of them, so it doesn't matter, you could flip it. It's a completely flat ring, but other rings will have a taper on one side of the top or the bottom of the ring, which will make a big difference. You won't be able to put it in upside down, and if you do manage to get it in upside down, it'll bind. Rings
Oh.
on and orientated. So like with the oil rail, you don't want the gaps in your rings to line up. It can cause oil burning issues and compression loss, because although the second ring just scrapes oil back down the bore mostly, it does help with compression. anything that gets past the top ring usually gets stopped by the second ring. It's also why they have this nice accumulator groove in here, so any high pressure gases can decompress in between the two rings and prevent any ring flutter.
We should probably mention that we've already done the ring gaps.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. How do we remember which one number?
So I'm putting them on the numbered rods.
Oh yeah, cool. So you put this on first?
Yep. But yeah, I just lined that center gap up with the pin.
Okay, just like that.
And then about 20 to 30 degrees away.
Done.
That is the new second ring.
So how do you move them around once they're in there? Or do you not?
Ideally you get it in the right spot the first time, but you can
there you go.
just hold
That wasn't hard, yeah.
hold the rail and then move the ring.
No, that's right. And then that rail gap was over here.
So you
See
want
that
to put it on
there?
the other
So
side.
yeah, okay, got it. Ooh, I bent that one a bit.
That's right, they're pretty flexible.
Okay. Hey!
And then when it's in right, it'll just clip into place like that.
Yeah, perfect. So there you go.
This is where it's tricky, because you can accidentally break them.
I did see that you were going slow before.
So this is actually pretty tricky to do.
Okay.
So you want to hold that on there,
press it like this,
and you gently open it whilst pulling it down with your fingers at the back there. It will dig into your fingers and it hurts if you're not used to doing it.
Right.
So it's probably going to hurt your thumbs. And then you'll feel when it's over far enough. Yeah. Right, he's got it. It's on the correct direction and he hasn't broken it.
Don't say that yet.
Still another ring to go.
There you go. Cool.
The second ring tends to be more fragile than the top ring.
Yeah, it actually feels like it's made from something that could shatter really easily.
Yeah, it's a completely different material to the top ring on these.
Yeah, right. So I had the end facing up as well.
So, with these ones, because we're orientating them while we fit them, you want to fit that one to the other side.
Cool.
It's not the end of the world if you don't orientate them while you fit them, you just got to turn them later. It doesn't matter as long as they're in the correct orientation when you fit them to the ball. You're stuck in the accumulator groove.
Oh, yeah.
Too far.
Hey, cool. Cool, well there you go. Full set of rings on a piston. Not bad.
Fit them by hand for your first attempt and you didn't break anything.
So you've got number 3?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll do number 4.
Yeah, all the rings are going to be turning in operation anyway, so they're not going to be in the same spot. Right. But it's just so,
when you start,
hopefully, when it all runs, they never line up in the same spot at the same time.
Okay.
Because they should, yeah, they should be rotating at roughly the same rate as each other.
Gotcha.
This tends to be a lot easier when you have something to hold the piston and rod for you.
Cool.
And that's the time difference between lots of practice and one piston's worth of practice. I'm on the last one.
Oh, son of a bitch! Oh, come on, I didn't do too bad.
No. Considering it's something you've never done before.
Yeah. Wait, did you do 3 in that time?
No, I did 2.
And this is
and this is the third.
Yeah, son of a...
And then the other bit that's cut like a fucking piece of prosciutto. Oh, wow. That was the only piece of assembly grease that dripped into the ball. Excellent.
That was one of my cylinders.
Just a little light bit of oil on the balls. Time to put this bit in that bit.
Ah, easy. We're saying this before, a little bit of assembly lube on both sides.
Yep.
About that much? Oh god.
Too much.
Oh god.
That's alright. Spread it out. Got assembly lube on the bearings. Rings are orientated. Tapered ring compressor. Much easier than the older option. The only trouble is if you're doing it yourself, it's a bit of a expense to buy one size if you do different engines.
We're only going to be doing RBs. I always wondered about that. So you just slide it up and it pushes them in.
Yep. You make sure all the rings have gone into it nicely. Now, make sure
go under and pop this on the bottom.
Yep.
Oh, which side?
Tang goes to tang.
Tang to tang. Yep.
Yeah. So the trouble is, I forgot the little rod bolt booties, so we've got to be careful of those rod bolts.
Oh yeah, so they don't hit the...
So they don't hit
crank.
the crank.
Yeah. So how do we do that? Ooh.
Alright, there's no mark on the crank.
Oh yeah, I can kind of rock it backwards and forwards.
Yeah. Should be able to just press it on.
Yep. So there's like a millimetre gap or so.
Yep.
Oh, then that goes on the...
Bit of fresh ARP grease
That goes on the...
on the threads.
Yep. Should I take that off and put it on the thread first? Thank you, sir. How tight?
Just do it up finger tight.
Yep. Do I have to alternate between sides?
If the cap's not on completely, yeah.
Alright, that's as tight as I can go.
Put out one of these bad boys.
Cool. So I mean that's
as long as it's nipped up, you can't easily do it up anymore.
Although when I did this side more, this side suddenly came on that a bit.
Yeah, so the cap would have been seating.
Yep.
So that one's nipped up?
Yep. So do we put them all in and then torque them all up?
No. Torque them as you go.
Okay. What sort of torque?
45 foot-pounds.
Looks like you're holding a rifle. Yeah. In old school. Oh yeah? Okay. Cool. Phew.
It's a higher tension than your main bolts.
What were they? 35. 30.
So about 35 foot, yeah, 50 Newton meters.
Yeah, right.
And these are 45 foot-pound.
So if I do them up even slightly too tight, does that affect the clearance?
Yes. Double check it. Do them again.
Cool. Number 1 done.
Number 1. Now we do number 6.
Oh, really?
Crank's already down.
Oh, okay. I thought it was for like tension or something. Too much again, but less.
A little less too much. You're going to make sure you got all your rings in the compressor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's it.
And then get it down
Yep.
to you there.
Yep.
So it's easy to hold. And we make sure we put it in the right way. And you make sure that is flat against the bore.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's straight.
Mm-hmm.
And you give it a sharp push down.
And so you're gonna grab the bolts.
I'm going to leave my finger in the way. You want to hold the ring compressor down as you push the piston in, so it stays against the deck face, so that you don't get a gap.
Oh, because the ring will pop out.
Yep. Perfect.
Hey! Hang on. You want me to flip it up?
Yeah, probably should just flip it over and do it. Instead of doing things upside down when you don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Oh!
My nuts finally dropped.
Only one of them, that's concerning. Just when I start questioning it. Ding! Okay, done. Now, let's do it again. Cool.
He has taken over. He knows what he's doing now.
Hey, look at that. How good is that? Oh, you had it pretty consistent for a couple of revolutions.
Feels perfect.
Cool as.
It's got resistance because it has the rings in there.
Yep.
But it still feels nice and smooth. There's no little marks that have developed in the bores indicating we chipped a ring or anything.
Well, there you go. We have one bottom end for an RB25 in there rotating pretty freely. I'm so tired, but I'm so excited, so I don't know what to say or how to react right now. But that's bloody cool. I'm relieved as well. I'm relieved to see that it's spinning. So I think that's probably going to be it for this video. I'll pop this in a bag and tuck it away until we can get some more work done. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, guys. Make sure you do check out the Instagram and the Facebook. And yeah, see you in the next video. Peace.